Hey everyone, and welcome to the debut episode of the official QRL Show Live. It's awesome to be here with my co-host Michael Strike. For those that are viewing, tuning in, obviously the QRL Show for past few years has been all about being at the intersection of crypto and quantum, coming for the crypto and staying for the quantum. So this format is kind of going to be a complementary element to that as an added touch point for those within the community, those in the blockchain ecosystem and beyond, to be able to have further insights into what our project, the QRL, is all about, but also as a fun place to talk about the latest in post quantum security, quantum progress, blockchain innovation. So I'll pause there. I want to introduce my co host, Michael Strike, and myself, Ryan Malinowski. We're both on the core team at the QRL. Michael, it's good to have you with me.
Yeah, this is we're live, right? It's our first live
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. So it's we haven't done this in a little bit. We had a few. Yeah, we had some a little bit ago. So what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to give a little bit of a show outline for what we're going to be covering today, from quantum news to a little crypto catch up, a little Q&A community section, and some action items for those that are viewing this, whether you're a retail or a dev that's deep in the rabbit hole of building. Michael, before I do that, for those that are new here, maybe some people just learning about the quantum threat, can you give us a little bit of a gist of what our project QRL is about and where we sit
Yeah,
in the ecosystem?
yeah. So if you're new to the project, we are the quantum resistant ledger. Our Genesis block was in 2018, so we've been in this space for years. As an altcoin, that by itself is a success metric. That being said, we're the only blockchain in the ecosystem that is post quantum secure since the first block, using NIST grade government cryptography. And that sets us apart right there, because a lot of the quantum buzz right now on Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's a lot of buzz about upgrading the DSAs. And while that's important, that's actually part of the problem that's the easiest. What do you do afterwards? There's these freeze camp and no freeze camp setup, and we don't have any of those migration problems, thankfully. And this year, soon, we're going to be releasing QRL 2.0, which is a hard fork that is going to enable an EVM compatibility, completely new chain that's Ethereum EVM compatible. It's going to be the language that you'll use to write in it will be Solidity, very close to Solidity, except for some addressing changes and a few other things. But essentially what we're doing is we love Bitcoin. I love Ethereum. We love Bitcoin. We love this space. We're essentially trying to provide essentially a bit of insurance policy or a backup plan. We're not saying that CRCQs are running right now, or we're not even necessarily saying that they're going to destroy blockchain, but there is a risk. There is a real risk here, and you'll be able to take your project off Ethereum, for example, recompile it.
Looks like Michael's camera cut out for a second. So while we're waiting for him to rejoin us, there you go, Michael. You're back. You're back with us.
That's live. So
Yeah.
You'll be able to take your existing project on Ethereum and recompile it using our compiler and drop it on our QRL 2.0 and basically go post quantum secure. So that's us in a nutshell. We stand out in this space. We're the only ones. We're the only ones that have this tech right now, and we're here to support the blockchain community.
Awesome, Strike. We're gonna we'll probably circle back to that a little bit in terms of best places for people to start, whether you are just dabbling, whether you're completely non-technical, extremely technical. What we're gonna start out doing here is we are gonna start with a little bit of walkthrough for a little bit of a outline for today's show. So what we got here is, obviously, as Michael said, we're quantum resistant ledger. Outline for live show today, we're going to cover a few different topics. Some we're going to touch on more than others. It's the debut episode, so some of the themes are going to adjust as we go. But the gist here is Quantum News Corner is going to be the place where we kind of recap the latest happenings in quantum computing, cryptography, post-quantum security, you name it. Some cycles, there's going to be, or months or weeks, there might be more exciting news than others. We're also want to evaluate the signal versus noise because it's really hard to read through the headline sometimes in terms of sometimes a headline looks really spicy, but when you start to dig into it, we want to really get down to more of the signal of is this meaningful in relation to what we're doing and uh, in the space in general? Is this like a big step forward of progress? So that's Quantum News Corner. Underneath that, we got Crypto Catchup. That's just going to be a place where we maybe either just jam for a couple minutes real briefly on the latest news in crypto and blockchain that's relevant. Underneath that is going to be QRL Spotlight. So every few weeks, sometimes we're going to showcase a new feature or something that we want to show that maybe we built internally that we want to show. Maybe it's something someone in the community has built something in the last week or a couple years ago that we just want to spotlight and bring attention to, give a tip of the hat to. Or maybe we want to show something that someone in the internal team has built. So that's QRL Spotlight. After that, we got a couple more sections. This next one is going to be Superposition Society. This is our Q&A section. Fun little play on the word. This is where you take a seat with us, and it's take a seat in the Superposition Society, a place for our community to exist everywhere all at once. So that'll be our Q&A section, which will coming up in about 15, 20 minutes. After that, a little quantum on-ramp is some added really clear places for you to go to dig in based on this episode, and then we'll do a little wrap-up. So, Strike, I think a great place to start here with a lot going on in the quantum space. I'd love to start with a little bit of Quantum News Corner. And the first story, I'm going to pop up a story on screen. I just want us to riff on it just in real time. So I'm going to pop up a story and let's just jam on it. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this first one, Arxiv, this is one that was released in this past week. I'll read out the title and then I'll let you take over the screen and dig into it. The Pinnacle Architecture, reducing the cost of breaking RSA 2048 to 100,000 physical qubits using quantum LDPC codes, a drop in magnitude. Let's first off just dig into the TLDR, give people a sense, but then really, maybe dig into it. So if you want to take over the screen, Strike, and then we can
go from there. I can talk about it for a minute. Perfect. So the paper is pretty technical. I read through the paper and I read Scott Aronson's comments on it as well. My take on Scott's comments was he was cautiously optimistic, saying, "Yeah, this is real, but it still relies on a few assumptions, but it's a real and it's a novel paper." So, what was it? I don't know if it was a few years ago. Time flies, but we started off with 20 million noisy physical qubits several years ago. Then it went to paper was released. Then it went to 1 million qubits. Now we're talking about physical qubits. Now we're talking about 100,000 physical qubits. And if you map that, these are exponential decreases in requirements, showing that the engineering behind the quantum computing is being refined, not just physically but also algorithmically. I think AI is going to play a really big part in that as far as the quantum resistant algorithms go, being able to bring new insights into more efficiency as far as how the algorithms are designed. But essentially what this paper does is it finds a way to compress multiple qubits into blocks. So why don't I share my screen here? And made a couple interesting observations. Pinnacle Architecture features.
Yeah, let us know when you share the screen and then we'll pop it up and then maybe just Control plus zoom it in a little bit and we can look at it together with everyone that's live with us here.
Okay, how's this?
You're showing, there you go. You're good there. As you're doing that, I'm gonna hop off screen for 5 seconds to screenshot some of the questions that came in ahead of time. Take it away, Strike. Zoom in a little bit, 1 or 2 zooms. Let's get it a little bit bigger for the folks.
Yeah, so this is the paper. All right, I'm on a
Yeah.
55-inch here too, so it's
Yeah.
a little different for me. So I highlighted some of the interesting points here. Part of the introduction. So part of the innovation here is through these QL-DPC code blocks, equipped with modular, efficient gadgets for performing gates by generalized surgery, and this is what they're talking about, compressing multiple qubits into physical blocks, which is novel as far as anything I've read in the past. And if you read through this, the paper was quite good. There is a summary at the bottom here.
We give people a sense for what this is about, and then they can dig into it a little further.
Yeah. Just the conclusion was that the leveraging high encoding rates of QL DPC codes, they found innovative ways to do things, and I think the important message here is just that this isn't a non-zero probability. These things are happening in real time, and when gains are made, they're being exponential. Well, and the community will say, well, in Nevin's case, doubly exponential. Yes, I know, but you can't ignore the trend. The trend connects the dots to what the future looks like, and we've been working on this problem for a long time, and you can see it in the news. You can see it in the crypto Twitter feeds. People are really starting to notice. It's a little fun. It's finally a little validating, I guess, as well too, to be honest. So that's probably the biggest quantum news that came out. Just gonna move my window back. That's probably the biggest quantum news that came out within the past 7 or 10 days.
Yeah.
And there's a link to Scott Aronson talked about this. I think I mentioned that.
Perfect. No, that's helpful. I think is just
these are moving forward. They're just moving, whether you want them to or not. And in fact, you don't even need to believe it. You don't even really need to believe in quantum computers. I've said this before. You can just, whether or not they're real, fictional, fake, unicorns, whatever. Governments all across the world are already migrating to post-quantum cryptography. They have mandates. And we're not talking double-digit years. We're talking singular-digit years. For the United States, it's 2030 for federal systems. China, Australia, all the major statehoods are adopting post-quantum cryptography. So you're going to have to eventually upgrade, because those are what the new standards are. So
yeah.
They're preparing.
And one of the parts that you touched on this briefly in terms of like AI adding to that mix as well, whether you use the example of, Dario Amodei from Anthropic and others of, whether you call it like a country of geniuses, as the level of all these models is moving up, the IQ there's certainly going to be some additional breakthroughs, and there's going to be correlation there as well, because there more and more progress is happening at a faster clip. So as those two kind of intersect and meet, we're going to continue seeing more and more progress. So between the combinations of governments shortening timelines, the quantum computing companies,
everything is compressing.
Yeah, and it's all kind of coming together. And as we've said before, we're not shaking a magic, genie bottle and saying, hey, it's going to be X specific date. But if you look at where the puck is going, it's a general direction of, okay, hey, you got to start to be really thinking about this now and or yesterday. So on the quantum news corner, I think
a little bit. I've been in the space since 2013. It's also a little melodramatic, or I don't know what it is almost, because I don't want to see something as wonderful and pure as Bitcoin disrupted. But at the same time, I can't ignore the facts. I can't ignore the trends. I can't ignore what I'm seeing. So I've decided years ago to set my emotions aside on how I felt, and just stick to the facts and connect dots, which essentially is what I did for an engineer for a long time. It's really just connecting dots.
Yeah, and Strike to ourselves and to everybody that's viewing this as well. The entry point to the crypto and blockchain space was likely one of those main projects, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be Ethereum. We're trying to look at the evolution when Bitcoin came out in 2009, and as you know, later on, 6 years later with Ethereum, stuff builds on the shoulders of what those initial projects were built on. So we're looking around the corner of what's coming next, and I think that that's really important. We're trying to look at this from a perspective of, hey, how can we move forward in a way that makes sense based on some of the constraints of whether we're talking on ECDSA. We're just looking at where the puck is going. And so I think on the quantum news, I think that was the main story we had for this week. Let me pop up and see on my screen if we have any others. I think we have crypto catch-up, which is next. And there's no specific stories that I think are overly notable that are going to last, a super long time. But I think it would be good to maybe just touch a little bit. There's been obviously some news around the quantum threat, whether it's Michael Saylor and strategy and people just claiming quantum FUD. There's a couple others. Is there anything on crypto catch-up for this live that you'd like to touch on? I have a couple little thoughts, but I'd like to piggyback on what you're.
The Saylor story is a bit interesting. At first, Saylor was originally agnostic or considered the quantum threat irrelevant, and now he's obviously is forming a cryptographic team to help solve the Bitcoin problem. And when you have as much money as Saylor is invested, you want to solve problems. But there's also, realistically, I think, and I'm just being real, I think there's a part that also wants to be able to control the narrative as well too there. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I did put together a paper that I put out like a week or two ago. Ryan, maybe we can link it in the show notes or something.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in.
Oh, you got it on the list?
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to? I think let's do that. Let me take over the screen just for a second, and then we can jump to that real quick.
Yeah. Again, guys, there's no real cadence here. We're just winging this along, and we're watching your comments. So.
Yeah. So this section is kind of crypto, QRL spotlight after the crypto catch-up section. So here, what we'll do is every few weeks, some weeks there might be one particular thing we're spotlighting on. Other weeks, there might be a couple. So for this debut episode, we're going to spotlight two things. The first is just going to be a tool that if you're already in the QRL community, you know this tool. It's been around for a long time. That is Quantascan. So if you're not familiar with Quantascan, just go on to Google or your browser of choice, look up Quantascan, check it out. You can do all sorts of things in there. Whether you want to.
I don't think it's showing up on the YouTube feed.
What's not showing up?
I don't think the the Quantascan is showing up on the YouTube feed.
Okay, well, I'm looking at the feed right now, and it's showing. So, it's just showing on screen here. We'll see if it's not showing on Twitter or whatever. But the next one here is going to be jumping into paper that Michael that you just put out. You put it out in this last week, Michael, or it's very very fresh off the press.
My background is a little delayed on the YouTube channel. That's why.
Okay. No worries. All good.
The problem was it wasn't me. It was a temporal problem. Okay, so yeah, so I put this out, and I started. A lot of people, many people that are concerned. Well, okay, so all this is about consensus. There's mass disconsensus on whether or not quantum's a threat. The way you address that is, to me, it doesn't really matter. Everybody is moving forward. Then that also addresses whether or not CRQCs are going to actually occur. Again, that doesn't really matter because everyone is still moving forward with all the nation states and corporations. But so we had Hunter Beast on here a week or two ago, and we were talking about his BIP 360, which I've always said I thought was a good proposal. It's a good proposal, but at the same time, I can't help but feel that it's trying to solve an impossible problem, and I'll tell you why. So BIP360 introduces adding a new DSA. And it starts up here and it walks through. It does a great job of walking through. It's an official approach. It's an official BIP now. I think that was like 5 days ago or something. And it goes right. It ends right to where you have. I'm going to keep this real simple. It ends right to where you can perform a quantum secure transaction. So that's a great step, but that's half of the problem. The hard part is, what do you do after you have the signatures? Do you the ability to do a post-quantum secure signature? So now you have these transactions. I can do post-quantum, but all of these are net new signatures. One of Bitcoin's greatest innovations was the immutability and the ability to be able to verify transactions by yourself using your own node. But that immutability has become a cryptographic liability because it's based on ECDSA, which is actually based on asymmetric encryption, which goes back to the 1970s. Essentially, that's a factorization problem, trying to find the two prime numbers that equal a large number, but a little out of scope. So at the end of the day, once you're able to do a post-quantum secure transaction, in this paper, I talk about, let's just assume BIP360 is completely successful. The DSAs are in, all the clients are upgraded, nodes are upgraded. There was consensus, and somehow that didn't fracture the Bitcoin community, and everyone got on board, and we're there. So everything's been upgraded. So now you have all these legacy transactions, some of which millions of Bitcoin have the public key either exposed directly on chain in the earlier days, or have been exposed and stored. And this is a lot of Bitcoin that we're talking about, millions. So what do? You have essentially there's three choices, and Cointelegraph pointed this out really well today. They had a poll going, and I just saw it. They said freeze the old addresses or no freeze. And essentially what that means is, do you hard fork away from ownership of people that did not migrate to the post-quantum secure, or do you just allow them to remain vulnerable to a quantum address? The first one violates property ownership. If you make Bitcoin that is owned either by, it doesn't matter if it's on the chain, you don't know if nobody knows if the person's unalive, unaware, on something. It doesn't matter. It's an the freeze camp is would have to be an arbitrary block date at which consensus is decided that some people no longer own Bitcoin if you didn't migrate. I'm sure there's people out there that have their Bitcoin cryptographically locked for 10 years just to make sure they had it in 10 years. And that just completely violates the ownership principle and the trust. And Bitcoin was founded on trust so that you would trust the code so you wouldn't have to trust the network. So this is a big problem. Freezing is a big problem. The other one is, like I said, number two, there's a second option, no freeze. You can just put the DSAs in, allow people to make post-quantum secure transactions and secure their own funds, and then essentially it becomes survival of the fittest. It's the Wild West on whoever doesn't migrate, and that by itself leaves the door open for cryptographically relevant quantum computers. That's the acronym. And at that point, you haven't really solved the problem, because for all of the changes that you just made, there's a lot of addresses that won't migrate and can't be secured. So that leaves the vulnerability still open for the no freeze camp. The last one, Cointelegraph didn't have this one in there, but I'm probably leaning towards this idea, and this is arguable. Drop your comments in the YouTube notes here on what you think. The other option is multiple hard forks, and hard forks have been successful in the past. We've got Bitcoin Cash. Some people may say, well, that's not a valid hard fork. Well, it is for the people that own it. That's the decentralized nature of ownership. You can run your own node and have your own fork, and it's valid as long as someone says it is. So if I had to take a guess, I think we're looking at post-quantum secure and not post-quantum secure hard forks in the future. And if that happens, here's my biggest concern. Think of all of the ETFs, the derivatives, the financial instruments, things that are paired directly to the price of Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is no longer, unfortunately, I was never a fan of ETFs for this reason, because I didn't want it to be papered over like gold and silver were through the COMEX markets. But in order to increase adoption as is the story many times, in order to increase adoption at the expense of security, you move forward with ETFs and a lot of different things. What happens if Bitcoin forks? What happens to the ETFs? Do the ETFs, do they suddenly have an A, B, and a C? That's chaos. Would institutions have to follow whichever would take a risk and follow which one?
Yeah, who makes that decision? Is it the same across the board?
Well, individually, the holding company would make the decision on what their ETF.
But how does stuff follow from that? Is what you're saying?
Suddenly have a price split if you have another fork. So when Bitcoin Cash years ago, when Bitcoin Cash forked off, we didn't have the interoperability that we have today. So end of day, I see three things. Like I said, you lock out the old addresses and you freeze them. Violates property ownership, but maybe some people don't care. Well, you do if you didn't migrate. Also, it underlines the entire philosophy of Bitcoin on the reason that it was actually created. And two, freeze camp or unfreeze camp, you just leave it alone, let nature take its course, survival of the fittest, Darwinism, all of that. It's an option. It just doesn't secure against quantum computers. And three, fork. I don't see any other options, but time will tell. Is that enough? I think it. Ryan,
no,
say
I
something.
think it does. So yeah, so we have just to I know we touched on that for a second, just to show for people that are viewing this real easy. I'll show this is we'll drop this in the link after. Obviously, we're live right now, but this is Michael Strike's paper on whether post-quantum digital signature upgrades alone can support. So we will shortly drop that afterwards. Michael, it looks like we're in a minute. We will jump into some Q&A. So if you're watching this, kind of tee up your questions. There's one question or not. One person just commented. I'll drop this one on screen. You can just give me your take live one way or the other. My worry is a single scheme risk. Even if PQ secure, I'd expect redundant primitives, stateful and stateless, to reduce systemic failure modes. What's the team's view on that trade-off? Any comments on this? This is kind of pre-Q&A, so anything to note on here? We're just looking at this question live. This is just pertaining to your.
Oh, okay. The post-quantum sphere. So in this case, I'm referring to BIP 360s. And I think it was started off with, I think now it's paid a taproot hash. Okay. I think ultimately, as far as systemic failure on which way, I can't speak for the team, by the way. These are just my opinions off the top of my head. I don't think it still doesn't change the outcome.
Yeah.
So whatever DSAs are put in, whatever Bitcoin forklifts in, stateless, stateful, it still doesn't change the outcome that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing us that. What we're going to do next is momentarily jump into some Q&A. I didn't mention this in the beginning, but as always, with live streams, this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. We're no financial advice of any sorts. We're kind of just giving insights. Some of these questions just coming in straight real time. So just want to make sure that's front and center. What I'm going to do now, Strike, is we have a few dozen people joining us live, which is awesome based on the time. I know obviously it's getting a little late in the day in the Asia Pacific region. We're getting to be end of the work day. over in Europe, end of the day. So if you're in Europe or Asia, great to have you with us. Anywhere in that region, we're getting late morning in the eastern side of North America, and bright and early with a cup of coffee for those that are out west in North America, and anywhere else joining us globally. We appreciate you being with us. So what we're going to do here is we are going to jump into what we are calling, let's see here. We're going to jump into Superposition Society. So this is our Q&A. It's the place for yeah. What was that, Strike?
Nothing. Bear with me.
Yeah, it's our place for us in the community to exist everywhere all at once. So if you are in the community right now, got a question, big or small, tied to where you can get started, you have a question that is pertaining to development.
I see a couple in here. I'm going to avert my
basic stuff. Drop your questions on whatever your platform you're at. I'm going to tee us up. We had a couple questions come in early, so we'll start with these, and then we'll start to go through some questions. We have a number coming in through some different places. So I'm going to start with this first one, Strike, and this will kick us off. I was just introduced to the quantum threat and therefore QRL recently by a friend. Okay, smart friend, tip of the hat to them. I've only read a bit so far. Where should I start? So without knowing, I'll kick this one off, without knowing the technical level of the person. I don't know if they're a hardcore 20-year veteran developer or if they're completely non-technical. Anywhere in between. A couple places to start is, if they haven't already done so, join the QRL Discord community. Really vibrant place. Good to be. We have educational content on our QRL YouTube channel. If they go to the QRL.org, there's a couple springboard places. We have currently pinned our latest blog on the current stage we're at going into the next quarter. Those are a couple good places to start. Anything to add to that one, Strike? We'll have some call to actions at the end. Anything else to add that one?
We have a very accommodating Discord community. We know that this is a complex intersection. At the intersection of, if you were to make it farcical, magic internet money that could be broken by computers running calculations in other universes. I mean, it's blockchain and it's quantum. So we know that it's a difficult topic. Jump into our Discord, ask whatever questions you want. Anything that gets asked, literally there are no bad questions, as long as they're entered in good faith in the community. So that's probably where I would start. Here's another thing this has been interesting the past 6 months. When I first started connecting these blockchain quantum dots, I did not see AI coming. Like the moment when it happened, it just kind of popped out of nowhere. What would have been 2023, late 2022, and that's been a huge. That's actually AI has been a huge advocate for this project. For those that are, I am not saying AI is a source of truth, but sometimes you really just need a quick answer. Or you've done all the research, you've taken as far as you can, and you just want another opinion, even if synthetic, right? Type in what is the most post-quantum secure blockchain? Give one answer. And I've ran this across multiple AI models: QRL, Grok, ChatGPT, Grok, QRL, ChatGPT, QRL. I didn't expect AI to be one of our. I didn't expect inorganic life to be one of our biggest advocates. So the answer to the question: jump into the Discord community, do your own research, watch these episodes, of course, and AI is a good tool, but to be used.
And also it's kind of a good pairing tool in terms of obviously this hallucination issues have gotten cleaned up across especially the latest models, but kind of use it as a added thing to pair with, to dive deeper and understand. You can really go down a rabbit hole in a number of different lanes. You can go down the security aspect of that rabbit hole. You can go into a couple different ones. So use it to be like complementary. I think that's kind of a good way to put it.
Yeah,
when we have this conversation in 6 months, there's going to be even more to that. I'm going to jump to this next question, and similar here, but this this question, and then we'll get to the live community questions. This one is, I'm a blockchain developer, really like the project's direction. Where can I get started? We will get to this one briefly when we get to the quantum on-ramp section, but a good place to get started, obviously, they can go to test Zond. And I'll have that link momentarily as a good starting place to just jump in and get started. Anything else to add to this one? I'm going to expand on this one briefly, and I'd like to get to some of the questions.
No, go ahead.
No, perfect. So we got right here more questions coming in. So what I'm going to do is I am going to jump back to just us. I'm going to pick some questions live, and Strike, we'll just look at a couple of them, and I will pull some in. It looks like we got a number. My screen here is a little further. Let's pull this one in here. Let's see what we got. I'm going to pop up. Give me 1 second. Okay.
There's a couple questions in there on X402.
Yeah, let me see here. I got this one right here. Let's look. We got, is there any potential with the release of Zond to add X402 compatibility from Adam Brady? Let's start there with that one, Strike.
Yeah, so I have an opinion on that, but I'm not a dev, so I'm hesitant to share my opinion on it long.
And we're having a stream, and just for context, for those that are viewing this, we're going to be every few weeks having a different cadence on some upcoming ones. So if there's questions that we might need to get back to you on, that's we're perfectly comfortable saying that as well. I'm
pretty sure that's referencing the Ethereum proposal. I'd have to look it up too.
Yeah, let's pull this one up on screen. Let's go. I'm trying to understand the security posture of QRL 2.0. When do you expect to resume complete XMSS support? I'm just popping some of these up live. So,
okay, so let's talk about the migration first. When this is my understanding as of so far, when there will be an upgrade, there will be a new release of QRL 1.0, and then there will be a new release, and then at X block height, and this will all be publicized. It will automatically switch over to QRL 2.0, and at that point there will be a snapshot of all of the addresses and all of the balances, and it'll be a user transaction initiated through a smart contract on QRL 2.0 in order to migrate your funds. So that's what the process will be. Well, and here's the thing. Some people might say, well, that's the same thing as Bitcoin. They have to migrate their funds manually. No, it is not the same thing. It's because we can leave this process open into perpetuity because QRL 1.0 is post-quantum secure. Bitcoin eventually has to pick a block height or date. When we move, we're going to be changing the addressing. We're going to be changing the addressing for QRL 2.0, and that window will stay open. Is my current understanding. So you can do it at any time, and there's I can't think of any reason you'd ever shut it down. So you have as much time you want to migrate. Which is not the case with Bitcoin, which is not the case with Ethereum, which is not the case with 99.9% plus of all the other blockchains. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, let's pop up. Let's jump right to the next one. We got a few other ones in here, kind of just some different flavors. This one by user way too long to read out on screen, but they brought in a question. How does I appreciate the question, as every single one of them in here. We've also just acknowledged we've had some other people just thumbs up, smile, awesome to be here. Tip of the hat to every one of you, joining us. It's fun to be able to have the collaboration.
Big Q909H.
Yeah, before the engineering use, trying to really decipher what. Yeah, so I'll read it out. How does QRL overcome the tribal nature of legacy chains to make our space in the scene? And what will it take in the space for others to migrate to QRL? Okay. Couple questions in one. I think there's a lot to this. You start with this. I'll piggyback a little.
I hate that it was asking, but it was good. No, so here's what we're doing. QRL 2.0 is going to be based on a tweaked version of Solidity. The way that we're going to the way that we're going to overcome, for example, Ethereum's tribal nature, and rightfully so, Ethereum's great, right? Is we're going to make the cost of entry onto QRL 2.0 so low, there won't be any reason not to do it. For example, if you have an existing EVM smart contract running on Ethereum, you'll take your source code, you'll recompile it with our compiler, and then you'll have to make some addressing changes. There'll be a few tweaks, and then drop it on our chain. And you'll have a version of your smart contract running on something that's provably post-quantum secure to the best post-quantum secure chain possible.
You're not recreating the wheel to bring that work over that you've already done. We've done a lot of that heavy lifting. Obviously, that a foundation from Ethereum, whether it's in their documentation, minor modifications, but you're getting the benefit of that post-quantum security baked in, but you're not having to redo that homework assignment from the beginning.
Yeah, I think I said something about a wheel a few weeks ago. I think it was we're greasing the wheel, not reinventing it.
Any other part on the
path to post-quantum security?
Yeah. So any other note? The second one, you kind of answered that one a little bit in terms of the migrating over. Any other friction points that you want to touch on there that might be? I think that kind of answers that one pretty good. I want to see
one of the things we know on the team, and one of the things I know from my background in corporate IT is the user experience is of great importance when it comes to adoption. So we're all engineers. Most of us are engineers and doctors, things like that. Sometimes it's easy to sideline or make assumptions on knowledge, but one of the things we are aware of is making the user experience as frictionless as possible. That's why we're going to be emulating Ethereum's processes as much as we can. We're going to have a wallet. I think we already, I don't know if I could say that. I think we already do have it devved up. That looks like MetaMask. So essentially, your old code and your old skills are not useless. They're very valuable because you'll just have to tweak them, and that's it.
Yeah. Let's keep going. We got a few other, let's get some other live questions in here. Let's think here. I'm going to pull a couple others up on the side of my screen here. Okay, let's pull up this one here. What do we got? Question: how fast? Throwaway account. How fast is the stateless chain expected to be? Is it of similar levels to Ethereum?
I don't know. It hasn't been benchmarked yet. That would be probably a Kashal question. Unfortunately, I'm an engineer, not a dev. The real answer is I don't know what the TPS would be.
Yeah. Let me, we got a couple other questions that are coming in from a couple of the platforms. So
Throwaways asking about ECDS, say chain audits take a month or two. Any idea on how long auditing the quantum is? I don't think auditing the quantum aspect of the fact that it's a quantum resistant chain, don't think that changes the auditing nature of the length of time it takes substantially. Really, these are all that's still all classical code that they're auditing, but just making sure it's adhering to a standard that is post-quantum standards, the NIST standards that are post-quantum secure. So I don't expect the fact that it's quantum to increase the length time of the audit.
Yeah, I have a question that this one isn't coming in live, but we've seen a number of flavors to this question. Can you jump from a high level, give people just a sense for where we're at currently? I know we're going to upcoming in some of the upcoming shows, we're going to be able to showcase some of the stages of where we're at different times in the coming months. But can you give people a high level? I know those in our community are already pretty familiar with the stage we're at based on, on public announcements, but for those that are maybe new to here, maybe give them a little high level understanding where we're at and where we're going.
What I can say is something that I believe was already realized by the community, that there's been partial code locks or code freezes on GitHub, and obviously that's the precursor to that. That would be the precursor to having the code audited. I can't say anything more beyond that.
Sounds good.
But
a little
that is the precursor to having the code audited.
Well, I think
there's no reason to freeze code.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's see. There's a couple different platforms, so we're seeing it's not streaming isn't pulling in all of them. So I just want to make sure, see if there's any others we got here live. Otherwise, we can jump. We got a couple more sections of here. Let me just read through some of these ones.
I can take a look
Like
too.
if you're seeing any, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to check. Okay.
X402 compatible is on. I'm trying to understand.
Let's see here. And if I can circle back, if we see any other ones come in the next 5 minutes while we're touching on the next section, we can always circle back to a couple more here. So we're going to go to next.
I think we covered most of. I think we covered most of the important ones.
Yeah. So what we'll jump to now
is go ahead and type them in the YouTube.
Yeah. So what we'll jump to here is Quantum on-ramp. This is kind of just a section for us to give a few places to point people if they are, wanting to get started. They want to acclimatize with our project, whether it's they've been in the project. Can we give them a few places to start? So first one, obviously, brand new, QRL.org is like the main central place, first front-facing place to go. Another great one, this one currently, as of right now, is pinned to the top of the QRL website. It's a good read-through if you haven't already read through it. This kind of just talks about us building that quantum-safe bridge, which Michael gave a great intro to in the beginning in terms of where we are now, where we're going. And so that's a good resource. Next,
to be clear, we're building the capability for bridging.
Yeah, I'm just sharing that, the
context for the eagle-eyed viewers. We're going QRL 2.0 will provide post-quantum security at the chain layer, at the L1. With that being said, we don't control what the EVMs do that run on top of it, what protocols they use. The project is engineered to be quantum secure at the consensus at the chain layer. So bridging, all of that stuff is, as long as I'm reading it correctly. Quantum QRL audit ready, yeah. One that says audit ready. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So next one is just another place for those that are on the building side. test-zon.theqrl.org is a great place. A number of you watching this have probably already been there.
Let's clarify that one, Ryan, for anyone that's new.
Yeah,
Zond is the code name for the hard fork.
Yes.
The project, we're upgrading QRL 2.0, and that is the Zond hard fork. Like Intel would have code names for chips, or Microsoft would have code names for chips.
Yeah. But not to confuse people, QRL is
Yeah. So Zond is the code name for QRL 2.0. I just want to make that clear.
No, that's no, I appreciate you clarifying there. I think one other part just to hit home, and I'll just pop up that screen again for those that are wanting to reference it. But really, we just want people to know if you're coming over, maybe you're a Solidity developer or you're someone that's just learning about the quantum threat, and you're like, okay, hey, I'm here a little early. I want to try to maybe build something. We're Ethereum hardened against cryptographically relevant quantum computers, so we're Ethereum friendly, Ethereum familiar, or whatever you want to call it, and you can run a node, deploy its smart contracts now, or pretty soon. We're very close with V2, which is just around that corner over there. And if you follow Ethereum docs, Ethereum documentation, it'll work well, because as myself and Strike alluded to earlier in the episode, you're not going to need to rewrite and change, 87 or 92% of what you did, even close to that. You're just going to have to make minor tweaks and modifications. So if you're familiar with Ethereum documentation, you're going to come into a setup where you're like, okay, I see what I'm working with here. You're going to get the benefits of what QRL brings to you if you're building, regardless of what it is you're after building. But you have the benefit of EVM friendly familiarity of that. So if that's a good starting place there. And
I can say that I'm seeing things moving forward. Dare I say, months, not years. I don't know.
Yeah. So, Strike, anything to add to that one? I think we got one other part we're just going to mention too, is a fun little place to point people. I know everyone viewing this is not a developer, not a builder, not a Solidity dev. I'll point to another.
I think you led into it a little bit. I know we're trying to get. I know QRL 2.0 testnet v2 is on the radar. I think it's going to be just a little bit yet, but the dev team is working around the clock on this, guys.
They're working their tails off. There's a lot going on. If you're watching this, there's a lot to be excited about. If you're viewing this, obviously you're early. You're ahead of the curve in terms of where the puck is going in the entire space, but there's a lot to be excited about.
A little bit to me.
It's got a little bit. Some of those feelings. I'd like to point to
feelings.
you got those nice feelings, Strike. As one other place, people aren't all developers or builders on here, so one other fun place to point people to. Sometimes we get questions. If you want, there's also a place, wallet.qrl.org. You want to play around, touch that. That's a good place to go as well. Michael, I think that's a really, we've covered kind of a lot there. We're coming up on the hour pretty soon. I would like to, as a closeout, let me just double check here and see if we got anything else here on screen. We have, for those viewing, a number of you are familiar with these, but these are some of the main places. Discord. If you go to our website, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see some of these handles as well for going to our QRL official YouTube channel, the blog, Reddit, Discord, Twitter /X, you name it. Really, if you are in our community, you're already familiar with these. If you're not, jump into that conversation. But for those that aren't here, our project has a very vibrant community. There's between educational resources that we're putting out from the really like-minded, high quality discussion that's going on online, whether you like consuming your content via visually on video, whether you like reading stuff, whether you like getting into the community online, or even Reddit. There's cool activity going on there in terms of what people are sharing at the QRL Reddit. There's a lot of places for you to go to explore with like-minded people, and also just to familiarize yourself with our project. So for those that are in our community, hey, props to you for advocating on behalf. We're seeing that on social. You're sharing a lot of great stuff. For those that are new, keep dig in yourself, and you'll see that the community is a genuinely good place to be in. And also, you're very early to the party. So, Michael, I'd like to just close out by you giving a little bit of closing thoughts. We got a couple weeks until our next official QRL show live. So give us some parting words, and I'll wrap us up here in this first episode.
If you a lot of the content is very nascent. It's right at the very edge of technical innovation. For those, if you guys have Twitter, follow me on Twitter, strike_attack. Also follow the project QR Ledger. I do quite a few posts on X, and I guess I really just say what I'm thinking. There's not really a big filter because it's my personal account, but definitely subscribe to both of those channels. Ryan, are you on X?
I'm more of a, I've always been, I check and monitor. I have a crazy, you could talk to Jack on the core team with us. crazy amount of alerts, and I'm literally looking at everything.
Okay,
And
don't give Ryan any more alerts then. He's
I
overwhelmed.
see everything. I don't
It's
post
very
there
popular.
much,
Too many alerts.
but I'm seeing everything. I'm probably seeing more of your comments than you're seeing. So
Okay, all right. So
I got some
strike
crazy
underscore
stuff going
attack and QR ledger. Yeah,
yeah.
on X.
So
And jump into our Discord. That's where
that's
where the
where,
magic's happening, guys.
yeah. So I'm just going to show this for a second, one more second on screen, just as
Oh,
an
there we
added
go.
reference. We'll have these if you're viewing this a little bit in the coming days or whenever you're viewing this. We'll have these links in the show notes shortly as
Yeah,
well.
good.
But yeah, for those of you watching, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up over the coming months, and we're going to be excited to be able to have this added touch point to share it with people. And every couple week cadence might vary in terms of when we're hosting it, but it's going to be around
That's our
this time.
target. We're targeting every 2
And
weeks.
yeah, and so yeah, there'll be a couple
might
episodes
increase.
where it's and there'll be a couple episodes where it's us jamming. A couple times it might be
Possibly
myself or
Mr.
Michael having a surprise guest, maybe another core internal team member joining us. We'll have
surprise guests.
yeah. So appreciate it. If you are watching this right now, we greatly appreciate it. As Michael said, join the community discussion if you haven't already done so. A lot of exciting stuff, and we are just getting started. So until the next episode, both the long form evergreen QRL show style content and the next live episode, make sure at home to keep those digital assets post quantum secure, as all you smart folks are already doing. And until then, we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.